Hey Meg,
Hi,
sorry I didn't mean to hang up on you.
that's okay. I think we should also call back the Scottsbluff Detention Center and ask for somebody else to see if there's somebody else that would fax it or email it to me. Um, if we're gonna have to wait a week before that guy can take you.
Yeah, he was trying to push me to go because he does want me to go. He wants to help me to get that stuff, but we have to have it set up and verified first. I mean, I'm sick of being told to do something, going and doing it, wasting the time and the energy and the money to go do it, and then it's the wrong way. Somebody told me the wrong information again. You know?
Right? Well, let's call back again tomorrow, and I'll get you on the phone so you can hear it directly,
Yes, ma'am.
and hopefully they'll give us a different answer. But I asked repeatedly, and that's the answer I got. The other consideration is maybe if we can find the name of your former public defender and see if she has access to that, maybe we can get it from her.
I sent her 21 envelopes full of evidence that I am going to need.
Okay.
It's really frustrating. I mean, most of the people here in town who were willing to help me are scared shitless of the sheriff. They've already been threatened, harassed, and intimidated. He actually told Dallas that uh, I was a danger to his kids, or he didn't want to have to turn him in for endangering his kids for having me here, or some crap like that, you know? Like, in my entire history of being alive, I have no history of harming children. And, with a lot of my friends here having kids, like, the sheriff really does have them by the balls. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, tomorrow afternoon I'll get a hold of you and let you know. If you want to write down who you're interested in calling, I'll write down the couple of ones that I've already tried to call, and then just whatever you decide is most important, then we can call them.
Yes, ma'am. It's pretty pretty important to call Sergeant Jones.
Okay.
Um, the fact that this has gone on across multiple states is really a major issue because they can use that against me in every state, but I'm not allowed to show any of the evidence of any of it. I haven't been allowed to show any evidence of any of the crimes committed against me to any law enforcement agency that was willing to do anything about it. I mean, in Colorado, they wanted me to be guilty of killing Natalie, and they didn't care what crimes they had to commit to try to frame me for it. When it turned out it wasn't me, they didn't mind committing more crimes just to hide the fact that they'd committed felonies. Here in Chapel, Nebraska, just the sheriff alone is looking at over a dozen felonies just from this situation. Leslie Snell is looking at least 5 felonies. Robert Warnick is looking at close to a dozen felonies. And uh, God, what is his name? William Barr is also looking at least 3 felonies. All of these people lied on court documents. All of these people prevented me and you from doing what it is that we were doing to try to get me safe. I mean, literally, every bit of work that we have done, they have lied and cheated and manipulated to prevent those things from actually happening. If they hadn't lied and had me arrested, we'd have had them turned in already. I mean, literally, all of the phone calls that we had set up for that day that we were not able to make are exactly the phone calls that would have put Leslie Snell in jail, that would have put Scott DaCosta in jail, that would have put Robert Warnick in jail and probably prison for all 3 of them. William Barr is the only one who can even partially pretend like he's a victim. And here's the thing is that he tried pretending like I threatened his in-laws. Rick Martindale still talks to me, you know, for almost 6 months before that whole situation happened. Rick Martindale was talking to me, inviting me over to the house to eat, inviting me over to the house to hang out. You know, every time Rick Martindale saw me, he invited me over. So it's not like me and the family that he was pretending I was threatening were, you know, at each other's throats and threatening to kill each other or some creepy shit like that. You know, when I got out of prison just last week, you know, after I got out of, and I know I wasn't let out of prison last week, it was like 3 weeks ago, but he saw me and he talked to me. And just like always, you know, he didn't seem to know that anything was even going on, which means that Will is hiding shit from the people that he's pretending I'm threatening. And then there's Leslie Snell pretending like I threatened her kids and her husband. And then there's Robert Warnick pretending like I threatened his kids. Fuck, I threatened absolutely zero of these people. The worst I did was threaten to turn them in. With you trying to help me to turn them in and them arresting me literally the very next day to prevent that from happening, and it's literally the four people that I was trying to turn in who all four lied. All four of them worked together to make sure that this happened. Like that, literally right there, that proves that they were doing something wrong. And for that lady in Scotts Bluff to take a look at that and realize that something is wrong, or not Robert Warnick, Robert Harvoy, the public pretender I had before her, he should have done those things. If he'd have made at least some effort to do his job, this would have been taken care of all the way back in February. I never would have gotten my disability money taken away. I never would have gotten my insurance taken away. I never would have gotten my housing taken away. I never, well, at least the housing that I had at the time. I never would have gotten my post office box taken away. Literally, all of the things that I need to turn these people in, they did everything they could to take it away. Now, luckily, I have my computer and all that kind of stuff back finally, but they didn't give all of it back, and I'm
Well,
not allowed to call them.
that's the thing. If you had all I could do, all I could do, and still all I can do, is try to help you get that stuff to a safe place so that you can sit down in a safe place and get it to the point where an actual attorney can work it and talk to all these people involved. I can't, and you know, I mean, you're not saying that I can't do that because I can't do that, but the problem is, like you've always said, and like I'm saying, is it's so complex, and there are so many people involved that you have to get this stuff organized in a way that you can actually use it and work with an attorney who can help talk to these witnesses and look at your evidence. I can't do that. You can't do that alone. And just hearing the stories, people on the internet can't do that. You have to have a safe place with that stuff to be able to organize it. If there's, like you've talked about many times, the sheer volume of it is, I mean, it's going to take you months. Even if you had a safe place today, it's going to take you months of safety and quiet and help getting that stuff all in one place in order to have an attorney even entertain it.
And that all takes time, and that allows them to use the statute of limitations to get away with it. You're right about that.
So I,
The problem is I can't get an attorney without someone like you speaking to them with me, and
no,
even
and
at
I can,
times for me.
and I've said that I would do that, and I will do that. I will help you on the phone. I can do. I'm immune compromised and can't do anything in person, and I can't, you know. But you're not asking me of that anymore, like you did in the past. But I can certainly make calls with you and try to get you to somebody that can actually be out there and help you out there. I don't know, and get you in a safe place where you're going to be able to at least cover your housing, your income, your food, your basic needs.
A lot
Because
of
like you
things that
said
I have
before,
evidence of, a lot
what's
of
that?
things that I have evidence of that you've gotten to actually see the evidence that you are actually aware that these things are not figments of my imagination. Those things were used to prevent me from having an honest day in court. Those things were used to pretend like I was making them up. And without people like you who have actually seen the evidence speaking up, I mean, that's what it's been the whole time. With Christine, she was aware that I was telling the truth. With Miss Peaches, she was aware that I was telling the truth. With most of these people, they knew that I was telling the truth, but they weren't speaking up, you
Well,
know.
even though I did speak up and you do have recordings of me on the internet and I wrote letters, it's still, I was told it was inappropriate that I was even involved
I remember that.
and that it didn't matter what I had to say. So I don't, that was very confusing to me as well. I don't understand it. I don't know.
Everything that didn't fit their frame job was not allowed in court. You are an eyewitness to a lot of the instances, a lot of the phone calls. I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all that they did not allow you to speak. It doesn't surprise me at all that they tried to make you feel like you're a bad person for telling the truth. But there's also, like, most of the people that I have to try to get help from, they're drug addicts or they're alcoholics or they're people that are outcasts like me. Nobody's going to bother listening to them. And a lot of these folks are using their positions in order to pretend like they're right. Like, because these guys have badges, they must be right. Now, with a lot of the stuff that I'm going through, with somebody like you going through it with me, that makes it so that you are more aware than anybody else. These people who want to threaten and harass me over the internet are not my major problem. It's people doing these things in real life that's my problem. I don't put these things on the internet to try to get trolls to harass me. I put these things on the internet so that the evidence is there in case somebody actually wants to look into it.
Well, I don't want to sound like a broken record because I mean I'm not saying anything you haven't already said, don't already know. So there's until you can get back into shelter in September. That's and have your income and have your PO box, have those basic needs met. This is all I don't know.
It's certainly overwhelming.
Yeah.
I have to worry about my safety, and that has been the number one issue every step of the way. Is that Maslow's hierarchy of needs? The very first tier is where I have been stuck ever since Natalie was killed. I'm either without food, without water, without shelter, or without all three. When I was finally able to get some money so that I could get some food, I was pretty ecstatic. But then people want to keep on throwing resources at me that I no longer need because they wasted so much time. It's kind of like if someone says, "Hey, I got diabetes. I need special shoes, or they're going to have to amputate my feet. I've got about 2 weeks before they're going to amputate my feet. I really need those shoes." And then 6 months after your feet are amputated, somebody sends you a pair of the special shoes you need and then wants to treat you like you owe them because they sent you them shoes. Like, hey, my feet are gone. I can't even wear your fucking shoes. They're not doing me any good.
Right.
And that's where a lot of people where they just didn't care. They claimed that they did, but then they just let everything go by the wayside and they procrastinated and they procrastinated. Christina was going to speak up. Now she's dead. She can't. Rayanna was going to speak up, but she's dead, so she can't. Anna was going to speak up, but she can't because she's dead. Janine was going to speak up, but she can't because she's dead. Rory was going to speak up, but he can't because he's dead. I don't think, most people, I don't think it occurs to them that there is a time limit on these things, or that the difference between me getting a lawyer is them speaking up. They're like, oh, well, call me when you get a lawyer. No, I need you to call the lawyer with me so I can get one. And then, being in Western Nebraska, like you were saying about those attorneys who said they lost a case here, it's Western Nebraska. Most of the time, somebody who is called mentally ill, they're just going to prevent any evidence that they have to show from being shown in court. They're going to say he's mentally ill, so he must be lying. With somebody like you can verify that I'm telling the truth. With getting that room up there in in Sydney, and all of the stuff that we had to go through for that, and all of the places that we called, and all of the resources that we called, and all of that, and how we had it set up for a whole week so that I could actually work on those things. That's all stuff that you're a witness to because you actually took part in it. Whereas, you know, you're able and willing to speak up and are prevented from doing so. A lot of these people are scared to speak up. The situation with Sandy Fromm threatening to kill me, there's witnesses to that, but they don't want to speak up. Now, I have it recorded, so, I have them recorded speaking about it and talking about it, so it's not like I don't have evidence. But there's also the fact that a lot of these people, if I post those up on the internet, it's going to have private information in there that, I don't want to give to the whole world. I would rather have them go to court and speak up than have to post anything on the internet to begin with. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I guess tomorrow, just think about today the order in which you want to make calls and who, and then take some time off and we'll do that and get those things started.
Yes, ma'am. There's also the situation in Colorado with Waylon Lolatai, and several situations at Clearview are being pushed through court in Colorado right now. And I really need to be able to take part in that because of what they did to me. Like, if they'd have listened to me about Clearview, Tibor Hatay would not be dead. If they had listened to me about Waylon Lolatai, he never would have been involved in the situation with Zaid Atkinson. He never would have assaulted Michelle Rodriguez. He never would have assaulted Sammy Leon Lawrence IV. And this is all stuff that they use against me in my court dates. They all use all of these things against me, even though I was never allowed to have a court date over them. The way that police treat me because I was charged with assaulting a police officer who has a history of assaulting homeless people prevents me from being able to turn in any of my predators. They're not going to take it seriously. They're going to treat me like I'm an enemy. Anybody who speaks out about police misconduct must be the enemy. And that's the mentality that we have to deal with.
Well, I hear what you're saying. I gotta get going, but we'll make calls tomorrow. And then if you could talk to that guy, well, I guess after we talk to the Crestwood Detention Center, then you can make plans with that guy
Yes, ma'am.
to drive you up there.
Hopefully
Unless we
between
can get
now
it
and
out of
then,
them.
I don't get any more bogus charges on me. I really need to be able to have a protection order against Leslie Snell, Scott DaCosta, and Robert Warnick. Robert Warnick has already approached me since I've been released, and there should have been a protection order there in 2019. So I have to worry about my safety in this town, and I have to worry about the people that they're friends with and the people that they pretended like I threatened them to. And all that shit's on the internet. It's all still on my YouTube channel. You can listen to all of that. You can tell that I'm not threatening to kill anybody. I'm not threatening to harm Leslie Snell or her kids. I'm not threatening to kill Robert Warnick and his kids, you know. But that's what they all tried pretending. Anyway, I know you said you had to go, so I'm going to let you go.
Okay.
Sergeant Jones is probably the most important one to get a hold of, though, tomorrow.
Okay.
They tried telling me that she doesn't exist when I was in Scotts Bluff. I got a lot of paperwork. I documented nearly everything that I could while I was in there. Anyway, be safe, Meg, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay. Bye.
All right, bye.